Hello, everybody. Jonathan Pulley here with West Coast Weather. Today is October 15th, and we're going to talk about this system that's moving through right now. It's not causing that much issues, just some light rain over western Washington. But then we look at this next storm developing off the West Coast right now. This will bring a moderate atmospheric river right into the area and cause some blustery winds and the potential for some thunderstorms tomorrow afternoon into the evening. And also, it looks like a likely powerful convergence zone may form somewhere in the Puget Sound also tomorrow evening, which may have some embedded thunderstorms. So, without further ado, let's get right into the video. Before we go into the specifics of the weather forecast, let's look at what the general weather pattern looks like and where the troughs and ridges are going to be. So, here's Alaska up here. Here's British Columbia, Washington, Oregon, California. Currently, we have a big trough that's been opened up over the Gulf of Alaska. If you look up here in the top left, you can see this other trough that's coming down into the Gulf of Alaska. This is actually from the typhoon that was in the West Pacific. So that's going to generate another atmospheric river, but generally it's going to be only like Vancouver Island, BC northward. So it's not going to really affect Washington, Oregon, other than maybe some clouds. So if we play this through, you can see that the trough starts moving in. This is what's going to cause our storm tomorrow and possible thunderstorms. So that goes through in weekends by Tuesday, maybe a few showers remaining for some of the mountain areas. But by later on Tuesday, we should be done with that. And you can see the ridge build in, but this troughing is really close. So there's probably the atmospheric river is going to be going right on where these two connect. And so we're going to kind of be close enough to get some clouds, maybe some brief rain showers for parts of northwest Washington, like the San Juans, Island County, Whatcom County, the Olympic Mountains. But we should be relatively nice other than that. And you can see the ridge kind of just builds there, but the troughing is still just right there off the coast. So we're kind of like playing cat and mouse with this ridge and trough. And as we go into next week, and the troughing starts to move over us and probably brings some more precipitation to the area. And if we go pretty far out on the European model, you can see it opens up a pretty deep trough over the west coast. So that would bring some chillier weather with it. But that's fantasy land out there. And now let's look at what the GFS has. Good agreement in the short term. Ridge builds. The atmospheric river goes into British Columbia, brings some clouds into Washington. And good agreement until we get the next week. And you can see that the troughing doesn't come in as fast, and it's not as much right over the Pacific Northwest. But the GFS opens a decent storm system and trough right off the coast. That would bring a more hefty system with it. But again, this is 200 plus hours out. There's not very much confidence in this range. But there is some sort of confidence in that we're going to get some more systems coming through. How strong they are and where they go exactly is still in the question. If we go farther out on the GFS, let's update this to get the most accurate info. And if we go back to where we were, you can see that the troughing really, the GFS just has an onslaught of troughs and storm systems. So that would be a pretty active way to end October. Now let's look at what type of precipitation we see and when things are going to arrive. You can see right now there's still some light rain from a warm front moving north right now. But as we go into Monday and in the Tuesday morning, these are 24-hour rainfall totals, by the way. And it's showing some rain totals possibly over 1 to 3 inches for parts of the Olympic Mountains and some coastal areas. The interior is a little more rain shadowed. The Cascades may get 1 to 2 inches of rain as well. That kind of kicks out here. You can kind of see the convergence zone right there. There's a little bit of green right here that's in this line right here. We'll look at that closely in a bit. And then you can see the atmospheric river I was talking about that's so close to Washington, but the main axis of moisture is going right into Vancouver Island and hitting some parts of the mountains in British Columbia. But there is some rain showing up for parts of northwest Washington, so we may get some drizzle out of that. But by the time we get into Thursday morning and Wednesday evening, the atmospheric river kind of starts dying out as the parent storm system from that typhoon dies out. Then as we go into next weekend, here's the precipitation from that possible next system next weekend, but models are still trying to work out on when and where that storm system is exactly going to go. We can look at that next weekend, and then that moves through, and then another storm system. But once again, this is Fantasyland. Now let's finally take a closer look. Here's Washington, here's Oregon right here. Here's very northern California, northwest Nevada down here, Vancouver Island and Vancouver, BC right here. This is the 80-meter wind speed plus streamlines that just shows the direction of the wind. And as we go through this evening into early tomorrow morning, you can see the pretty strong cold front off the coast. This is not surface wind speeds, by the way, so this is going to be strong. This is stronger than what's actually going to happen at the surface. It just gives us a good idea of where the winds are coming from. You can see as we go into tomorrow morning, the southerlies start picking up over the San Juan Islands, Whidbey Island, the Olympic Mountains up on Hurricane Ridge. That's why it's called Hurricane Ridge up there, because they get some pretty crazy winds up there. And as you can see, as we go into the mid to late morning, around 10 o'clock, the winds start picking up even more as the front starts actually coming in. Some pretty gusty winds for a lot of the interior coastal areas. And as we go into late Monday afternoon, you can see there it is right there. Do you see that little switch Aruski in the wind right there? Some westerly winds start coming down the Strait of Juan de Fuca. This is going to meet up right in the middle with the southerlies coming around the southern half of the Olympics, and then the westerlies coming out of the north side of the Olympics. These meet up and create a convergence zone. And models are showing the possibility for a rather strong convergence zone. And then you can see that continues through a good bit of Monday evening before kind of dying off early Tuesday. Now let's look at actual 10-meter wind gusts. This is right around the surface. This is wind gusts, not sustained winds like the last one. And you can see the strong cold front making its way onto the coast, some gusts 40 to 50 miles per hour anywhere from the southwest Oregon coast all the way up the Vancouver Island. That moves in, and as it moves in, it brings some gustier winds to some of the interior coastline areas, and then Whidbey Island in the San Juans and parts of Whatcom County start getting some gusts 30 to 40 miles per hour. Even the HRRR is showing possible gusts up to 45 miles per hour near Bellingham. So some areas may get some isolated gusts, 45 to maybe 50 miles per hour, but generally 30 to 40 miles per hour would be the most common. And you see the winds really just last through the mid-afternoon. And then you can see the wind shift right there. And then the abrupt wind speeds for parts of Whatcom County and northern Whidbey Island switch to westerly. So that may cause some extra stress on trees that they haven't been used to in a while. It may lead to some scattered power outages. Thankfully, it doesn't look to be too strong. This morning, that one of the HRRR runs showed possible wind gusts 50 to 60 miles per hour. Thankfully, that went away on that model, and no other model shows that strong of winds. That would cause quite a lot of power outages if it were to occur. But yeah, you can see the little convergence and signature as we go into the evening hours and then dissipate. Now let's look at the NAM model. Let's see what wind gusts it's showing. As we go into tonight into early tomorrow morning, it kind of shows the secondary low pressure system kind of forming along the front. This would enhance some wind speeds for some areas, but this is really the only model that's showing this feature. This may bring some stronger winds, maybe low to mid 50s as part of the coastlines. But sometimes this model tends to overdo wind speeds. And then you can see right here, right over Whidbey Island, the Strait of Juan de Fuca, and the southern San Juans, it shows some potential for gusts over 50 miles per hour. So higher wind gusts are still possible. The NAM tends to overdo some of these southerly wind events. So I'm not really expecting wind speeds to be over 50 miles per hour, but there's an outside chance that may occur. And the NAM also brings some gustier winds inland, mainly just 25 to 35 miles per hour from like Seattle and the southern Puget Sound, Olympia, Astoria getting a little bit gusty out there. Interior Whatcom County and Skagit counties, maybe 30 to 40 miles per hour. But that really starts dying down. You can see the westerly surge also on the NAM. It's a little weaker, maybe only gusts 30 to 40 miles per hour instead of up to 45 miles per hour the HRRR said. And then those weaken as we go into the evening tomorrow night. Now let's look at what the radar may show. This is called the composite reflectivity. And this just shows us what the Doppler radar may look like. This is about right now at 4 p.m. It's kind of underdoing the amount of precipitation. There's plenty of precipitation still down here near Olympia and Tacoma. So it's kind of underdoing that, just to keep that in mind. And that kind of moves out here. This is associated with a warm front from another system off the coast. But then as a low pressure system always has a warm front and a cold front, now the cold front, usually the more intense front of the two, starts approaching the coast late tonight and early tomorrow morning. You can see some heavier rain bands within this main front. So some of these may have an outside chance of some lightning and maybe some hail, but that's mainly supposed to happen in the afternoon. As that moves in, you can see some of the convective nature of this frontal system. Some bands inside are a little heavier than the rest, so there may be some gusty winds associated with those on Monday morning. So keep an eye out for that when you're going to work in the morning. And as we go into the late morning and early afternoon, the main front kind of moves off, but then you can see that there's these heavier showers starting to build in behind. It's almost like a secondary, like purely convective, showery front. This is going to have our most lightning potential, and you can see some pretty heavy downpours in this. Down here, you can see the max dBz. That's just dBz is just the measurement of how big and how fast the particulates like raindrops and hail are falling. So 56 is pretty high, so that can mean heavy rain or even possibly some small hail as well. Usually that happens in stronger updrafts that will also be capable of lightning. And as you can see, as we go through the afternoon, some of these stronger showers start moving down the stray one, the Fuca. This is the HRRR, by the way. We'll look at the NAM next. And you can see this really strong band form right as the westerly surge of winds comes down the stray one, the Fuca. This is when there's going to be some gusty winds, small hail, and lightning possible with this. This is not a usual setup, but there's a lot of Cape convective available potential energy. That's just a complicated set of words that means the energy that storms take up. So the more Cape there is, the stronger the updrafts are likely to be, and the stronger the storm. That's the basics of that. But some 58 dBz showing up around Fidalgo Island. So if this were to happen like this is just what the model thinks may happen. So there would be some really heavy rain, possible lightning, and small hail associated with that. And you can see this little extra low pressure system moving in later in the evening. That may have some extra strong cells with it. Here's the convergence zone kind of forming right here. You can see this band. This kind of forms more of the Cascades, which is a possibility. I've seen that happen with these sort of setups. But the HRRR was also underdoing the precipitation today, so it may be not showing what will be there. So as we go into later in the evening, that convergence zone kind of cuts off after a while once most of the Cape starts being used up by the storms. And then you can see that there's some stronger cells still going on in the Cascades and the Olympics, but most of this should be over by around maybe 8 to 10 p.m. That's probably the cutoff time. And then showers will be possible through Tuesday morning, at least according to HRRR. And then there's that atmospheric river that's going to be really close to us. This is why I'm really highlighting that there's a potential for some rain on Tuesday as this atmospheric river goes to the north of us. Generally light to moderate rain associated with that. Now let's look at what the NAM shows for tomorrow. That it's actually doing a lot better with what the precipitation is looking like right now. So I'm kind of trusting this model a little more than the HRRR because it started out better. And then you can see that warm front moves north of the area later tonight, maybe some residual showers associated with that lingering even longer. And then you can see the cold front approaching the coast that's going to bring the blustery winds and heavy rain. And then you can see that initial front moving through. You can see this kind of yellow band right in the middle, and that's going to possibly have some heavier rain with it. That's kind of the main body of the front where the main convergence of winds are. So that generates some heavier showers and stuff when that passes. That'll be mid to late morning, so probably from like around 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock in the morning. That moves off by around lunchtime, and then you can see that it's not as prevalent on this model. The next like kind of front of showers and such, but look at it intensifies these rain bands right over from this axis from the Fraser River Valley down to until Olympia. Sorry about that. And as we move off into the evening, you can see this convergence zone kind of forming right over Whatcom County and Skagit County, almost touching Whidbey. I've seen that also happen where it forms a lot farther north. We'll just have to really watch this tomorrow. And you can see my posts and stuff on my Twitter page that I'll link below this video if you want to go and check out my posts there. And then you can see the convergence zone kind of dies off right at about 5 o'clock. I'm not sure if that's going to happen or not, but this is what that model thinks. The convergence zone kind of reforms a little bit later in the evening around 6 to 7 o'clock, but it doesn't really show that much. And then possible residual showers, and then that atmospheric river that may get a little rainy. The NAM actually brings quite a lot of that precipitation in the area, even though some of the other models keep the precipitation away mostly. Now I wanted to show you the possible, this is what the HRRR showed early this morning. It does not show this. It didn't show this in the last model run that we just looked at, but it showed this bow echo. A bow echo is basically just a line of possibly strong winds and heavy rains that form a bow shape. That's why it's called a bow echo. And it showed a pretty powerful one when the convergence zone moved through, but it doesn't show that anymore. But if this were to occur, there would be some pretty gusty winds and strong winds, especially behind it, also lightning and all that fun stuff. Now let's look at the surface-based cape. This is the energy that storms kind of need that get fired up, maybe produce lightning and hail. And you can see this is about Monday morning. This is what the cold front's kind of going to be right at the front of this, because the cold air behind the cold front is what generates this instability in the atmosphere. So as we go into the late morning and early afternoon, this cape starts moving over the area. And this is when we start having the chances of some thunderstorms and stuff. You can see little holes in the cape. That means those are storms that are starting to use up all that energy, kind of eating it up. So cape kind of sounds like cake. So it's eating that atmospheric cake. And then you can see as we go into around 3 to 4 p.m., the cape really starts building in this little axis right over Whidbey Island, Commando Island, parts of Skagit and Snohomish counties. This is where the powerful convergence zone will be, and there may be some embedded thunderstorms with small hail and gusty winds associated with that. But as we go into the evening, once the sun starts dying down, the atmosphere kind of starts losing that energy. Some of it may still remain through the evening, which will keep the chances of some stronger showers in the forecast through the evening. And that kind of moves out. Now let's look at the cape from the NAM. The NAM tends to show a lot more cape than the HRRR. I'm not 100% sure which one's more accurate when it comes to the amount of cape, but let's just look at it anyways. And you can see it really starts building this cape right at lunchtime. And you can see it's a lot brighter on the NAM. That's why I was showing it. It tends to show a lot more cape. If this does happen, then stronger showers, more thunderstorms will be possible. Some of this cape is showing up over 700 kilojoules, joules per kilogram. That's just the measurement of the energy. You don't really need to know that to understand the actual concept. So, and then you can kind of see that there's a little brighter band right over Whidbey. That's where the convergence zone would be. and it kind of like piles all of the energy right into that little area right there. So that's what's going to cause the potential for some thunderstorms and such for Island County, Skagit County, Whatcom County, and even possibly for Snohomish County as well. And you can see that kind of lasts a lot longer on the NAM before dying out. Now let's look at the lightning flash density on the HRRR. This basically just shows where the model thinks there's going to be a thunderstorm and where there's going to be a possibility of lightning. As we go into tonight, there's maybe possibly some thunderstorms off the coast, but there's not really that strong of a signal. And then as we go into the morning, some of that activity starts moving into the Olympics, maybe a little bit in the Puget Sound, but this is going to be a little too early for there to be a lot of energy in the atmosphere. But then once we go into the evening, you can see some stronger ones moving up towards north of Vancouver, over Vancouver and Whatcom County. And then there's some of it moving through the Puget Sound as well. So you can't really trust a single model on exactly where there's going to be a thunderstorm or not. This is just kind of gives you an idea that the atmosphere is primed for thunderstorm potential. Now let's look at the lightning flash density on the European model. You can see it as we go into tomorrow morning. There's maybe a few pop-up showers that may have some lightning strikes in the morning. That kind of starts moving into the coast in the afternoon. And then right there around 3 to 4 o'clock, the European model sparks some thunderstorms over Whatcom County up near Vancouver, BC, maybe the southern Puget Sound. But then you can see as we go into the evening, once the convergence zone starts, this shows a nice thunderstorm right over Island County, dead in the center. That's what a lot of models have been potentially showing. And the European model has been showing this for a few days, which makes me more confident saying that this is going to happen more likely. But thunderstorm tips around here are very fickle, so we'll just have to watch and see what happens tomorrow and keep our eyes on the sky for some dark clouds. Now let's look at what the Climate Prediction Center has for us the next week or two. This is the temperature probability temperature outlook for 6 to 10 days out. So this is October 21st to 25th. And they're generally showing above average temperatures for a lot of the western part of the country, but you can see right on the northwest tip of Washington right there, where this atmospheric river is possibly going to be shielding some of the high temperatures. There's a little bit of blue right there showing the potential for some below average temperatures. But much of the west coast from California to Washington is going to be above average. And as we go to look down at the precipitation outlook, generally above average to near normal with those systems moving through. Now let's look at the 8 to 14 day temperature outlook. This is for October 23rd to 29th, so basically the end of October, around near normal temperatures with some below average temperatures for parts of northern Washington, western Washington. We'll keep an eye on this and look at this next week, because looking 8 to 14 days out, there's not very much consistency in the models and such, so it's not really best to plan things that far out. And if we look at the precipitation outlook, really most of the country is above average in precipitation, possibly right around normal in western Washington, but we'll continue to look at this and we'll see what's going to happen. Well, that's it for this video. Thank you for watching. If you want to just support the channel, or you just want to show that you enjoyed this video, just please hit that like button down below, and also hit that subscribe button to be a member of this channel, and also hit that notification bell if you don't want to miss out on any new videos I may upload. I plan on uploading my next video probably next week, and after we go through our relatively dry weather this week. But if you want to stay in touch with me on the active weather that's going to be possible tomorrow, just follow my Twitter page, which I'll link at the bottom of this video. I'll probably post there a few times tomorrow on the potential for thunderstorms and the potential for some gusty winds as well. So until next week, take care, God bless, and have a wonderful rest of your weekend.